Good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know who it is. Target individual CJBK. It is, I think it's like 7:10 a.m. Riding through, I think this is Tribeca, New York right now. Tribeca, New York City. Anyway, so, yeah, I haven't posted in a couple of days because I had to let the previous last three videos upload. I had to give that time because they were jamming. They're basically interfering with the YouTube server, trying to delay when or how fast my videos can upload. But I was like, look, you can't stop what God is already having. You can't stop what God wants to happen in this world. You can't stop it. So I was like, they're going to upload it. And always remember, patience is virtue and peace be still. Now, okay, so light, right? Well, there's a few things on my mind, but just want to reiterate. Damn, that was a bottle of pee. But just want to reiterate that people need to understand we are dealing with like the type of energies that we are dealing with is near infrared light. It's near infrared. It's not infrared. It's not mid infrared. It's near infrared light. There's a reason why you can't see it with a regular camera. Like, I tried this little test the other day where I typed in how to detect, near infrared light, but I didn't find something right away. But I seen a test on how to detect infrared light, and basically it was like you take your remote control and you point it at your phone's camera, and when you press the button on the remote where the indicator, or not the indicator, but the sensor where the light shoots from, if you point that at the camera, you'll see the red light from the sensor actually like blink on your camera phone. Then there's a video where this guy, he does this this test where he shows how you can reveal the I think the near infrared sensors of your camera phone by using a night vision camera, like a night vision camera. And when you activate, let's say, your phone's facial recognition, camera, and then you shine it at the near infrared, the night vision camera, you'll see the patterns, and it's like a grid of dozens of tiny little lasers that shoot out from your camera. So just remember what they're using to basically tune our emotions. Well, they're also using infrasound too. Infrasound, that is sound that is either below or above the hearing range for humans. Some TIs, or even not just TIs, but if you watch some of the news reported videos, the news coverages of like Havana syndrome victims, they talk about how, well, there was this one particular woman, she talks about how her dogs, when I think they were like stationed out in China or something like that, they said her dogs wouldn't enter into the living room. They would go through every room in the house, but then as soon as they got to like the entrance of the living room, they would stop and look at the living room. And then they would also look at things like she would be looking in the direction that they're looking at, but she can't see anything, but obviously the dogs are looking at something. So it's like, gotta remember, we're dealing with light that we can't see with the naked eye and sound that we can't necessarily hear with our normal hearing range. This is why you have infrasound recorders and you have, all right, she's cool. Yeah, so this is why I think we all gotta, like, even on your own, do your due diligence to look into near infrared technology, look into holographic technology, look into infrasound, infrasound, look into infrasound. You could even look into, look into sounds that have been used to either heal or healing frequencies, or look into sounds that have been used to actually cause a change in people's health. Like there's this one story I read about, and then this was like on the news, where I think they were like, this family was living in like a farm or something like that, or whatever, and they just realized, like, over some time, people in the house just kept getting sick. They didn't know what was causing them to get sick. They thought it was maybe like a cold going around, or some type of like bacteria, whatever. So they went to the doctor. Doctor was like, well, we don't really see anything wrong. We don't, we can't find anything in your tests. So I think at some point they found out that, let me see. Well, long story short, there was this old well, that they had in like their backyard or something like that. And there was this like generator or something that they no longer use, but it was still, it was like, quote unquote, quietly running, but the sound that was coming from it was at a pitch range to a point where when they heard the sound coming from this like this generator or this machine, they found out that, I think through like a spectrum analyzer or something like that, that this machine located in their barn was creating a sound that was actually affecting their health. So, was that. What else? Then, there was something else. I mean, I don't know how long I have left on this world. So I gotta do everything I can to be right by God, and to try to see if I can help as many people as I can, at least, how to learn how to defeat or overcome the attacks that's happening to us, whether spiritually, psychologically. I'm learning about the technology, but I don't know that much. So, but, all right, I'm gonna just say it like this. Since I've been like, with my girl now, for over the last like 2 months or so, they've been increasing their attacks on her, because obviously I've already mastered like two or maybe three of the warfare tactics, the spiritual, the psychological, and the technological aspects of this warfare. So everything that they do against me, it's like I've already accepted what they can do, what they're willing to do, and what they may actually do at some point, so it's like I've already accepted these things, but I treat it like football. They have access to my mind. They see everything that I think, every image that I produce. They see everything I see. Like, they supposedly know everything about me. So it's just like in any sports, right? You get film on the team that you're going against. You study the film. You learn about people's, you learn about people's, what's the words I'm looking for? You learn about their signatures, their particular things that they do. But at the end of the day, when it comes to game time, you still have to stop them. That's the thing. You still have to. You still have to actually stop them. You still have to actually perform. So what I realized, I was like, look, I know me as one person. I can't necessarily. I know I can't bring down a whole system by myself, but I know I could be a light. I could be one of God's entrusted light bearers, and I'm going to use my light to expose the darkness that they're basically operating in. People need to understand that a lot of things that they're going through in their life may not actually be organically happening. You got people that wake up angry for no reason. You got people out here going on shooting sprees. Most of the time, they don't even know why they did it. They just felt like, they'll say, I don't know. I guess I just felt like going on a shooting spree, whatever the case. But when you learn about this technology and what they're capable of doing with it, and how effective it is to the mind that's not necessarily aware of mindfulness and attentiveness to whatever, of course they'll fall a victim to someone manipulating them. And me, I'm at the point in my life where I can sense, I can literally sense when someone, or when they are actually, I can sense when they're actually tuning my frequency. I can sense when they're actually changing or trying to modify something within me, especially when it comes to my mood, because everything starts with your heart chakra. Like, the heart chakra is literally like the base of your power. The heart chakra is basically, or just your heart area. That's where your spirit resides. That's where everything about your power truly lies. You derive it from your chest, your heart. I'll be right back. Yeah. So, where was I? I don't remember where I was at. But anyway, yeah, so they're basically using light and sound as a weapon against us all. And you know what? Here's the worst part is, when you think about eugenics, right? Probably the most memorable form of eugenics you could really think about, or like a, Holocaust, or someone referring to, the perfect, human or whatever like that. You think about the Nazis. You think about what they were basically, pushing on, everybody about, blonde hair, blue eyed, whatever. That's like, you think about how the Aryan Brotherhood, like those type of people, that's. But now, you look at what these people are doing, right? They're basically trying to enslave anyone who is not a part of the augmented society. The augmented society are those who have already been integrated with technology. They done had their brain, I guess capacity amplified or whatever. I don't even know how to really put it. Their eyesight, they can see the spectrums of light that nobody else can see. Because we're living under infosphere. So there's all these frequencies, all this light that we can't see that's basically out here, and they're basically like, it's like cheating. It's like cheating life on a whole new level. And then think about how, like, when people are discriminated, especially like back in the day. Well, discrimination is still going on, but this is just like a high-tech level of discrimination against. Like, race doesn't even matter at this point. It's really about humans versus transhumans. Oh, I was gonna let you go. But it's really about humans versus transhumans. That's really what it boils down to. Humans versus transhumans. So, and they're like, oh, the secret society, they don't want you knowing about technology. Oh, everybody is watching you. The whole city is watching you. I'm like, that's cool. That is cool. That is exactly what God wants them to do. That is exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They're like, oh, everybody's watching you. The whole city's watching you. Da da da. I'm like, that's cool. Why? Because God picks specific people in the world to represent his light. So then when people are so busy watching the person who is going against the army of darkness, basically, we gotta be the spark that basically wakes up the rest of humanity. So then the rest of humanity could be like, wow, this really is an atrocity. This is really some real dark, evil, twisted shit. It's like, think about it like this. When it finally blows open about what's happening to people all over the world, right? This is the type of stuff that can create, that can cause, civil wars, riots, stuff like that. Because when you think about how these people just so casually, set people up to go to prison for things that they didn't do. And especially when you take in consideration deep fake technology, whether it's deep fake videos or deep fake voice, there's so much stuff that you really like none of us probably ever really thought about. Like, wow, my entire life has been orchestrated by a secret group of people who felt like they had the right or the power to basically choose who I'm supposed to be when I got older. Not me choose who I'm supposed to be, but they're like, we have the power to choose how your life is going to be. And that's basically what they're doing. Hold on. I think I forgot where I'm supposed to be going. Okay, I'm back. So, so when you think about, like, most TIs that I've met are genuinely very free-spirited, free-thinking, morally sound. They're ethicists. They're people who actually, believe in doing the right thing. And I mean, they're genuine people. They most TIs who I've met are people who would literally, they would do things for someone and not necessarily ask for a thank you in return, or ask to be like, oh, if I do this for you, then you better pay me back. That's what I realize about most TIs, right? Most TIs are like, what I realize is most TIs are people who we actually need in the world. They are the people we actually need in the world. Why? Because they're the good representation of humanity. Like most TIs are the good representation of humanity, you know. But now it's like this is why I talk about spiritual warfare, because it's like you got to remember, unless you were born a psychopath, more times than likely you don't just wake up wanting to do some violent shit unless for whatever reason in your life you were surrounded. Oh shit, I didn't see that one coming. But um unless you just like unless you grew up in an environment where violence is just kind of like, that's like the norm, and then you're taught these things, and next thing you know, it's basically kind of like survival for you, and that's kind of sad to think like that. But I mean, I understand because I grew up in those same environments, but I guess I just had like the right influences around me, so I wasn't consumed by my environment, and then these people who are basically threatening me, most of them, I know their types because I grew up around them. But I also know that there's more people just like me, and then there are some who actually do engage in certain activity that's not, really considered let's say legal, but they're good people though. Like not everybody who lives in the hood just does shit just because they like to they like to just intimidate people. That's usually someone who probably is either a sociopath or a psychopath. Some people are just doing it because, well, they feel like, they gotta, they just trying to survive, right? And that's I can understand that. But with this technology, this goes far beyond what should be considered just like you doing this because you feel like, you're trying to find a way to survive. So, yeah, like, it's like I understand certain crimes. But what do you need to take possession of a person for? But when you think about it, it's basically human trafficking. It's human trafficking of a, electronic way. But it's basically human trafficking, It's basically like abducting someone without having to physically abduct them. It's like someone's like a walking prisoner in their own body. And then it's like, for some TIs, they're like being forced to do things that they don't want to do. So then, they just do it because they don't want to be, attacked, right? Some people just go along with it. Then you got some people where it's not even about them being attacked or about them. For some TIs, it's not even about them being, controlled in a sense to just do something. Some TIs have handlers where they just actually like to see someone being tortured. Like they're making money off of watching someone being tortured, and then the audience is like they're getting kicks out of it. Like, oh, hit him in his balls again. Oh, look, they got this or whatever. And then when you know about how certain diseases or ailments all have frequencies, right? They all have like a measurable frequency number. Like let's say I don't know, a cancer cell, right, could be like, I don't know, 1,123 hertz or some shit. So if they want to give you cancer, they could basically find a cell in your body and tune it to that specific frequency hertz. using the laser light, the near infrared laser, and they'll basically just cause that cell itself to then be able to become cancers. But or not even just that. Like imagine you were somebody who were proud to be like abstinent. You're probably like a beautiful woman or whatever. You're proud to be abstinent. You don't be dating around or whatever the case may be. But then, who knows? You got this neighbor who probably been like liking you or whatever, but you wouldn't give him the time of day because he just seems weird or whatever, and weird for a good reason. And you're like, nah, I would never mess with this guy. So then now he's like jealous or whatever. So what does he do? He gets access to this technology, and now he wants to like manipulate her body. We're talking about like the nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, central nervous system. Like people, like women have already reported on the news about feeling like they were raped in like their dream, or they were plugged into the metaverse, or this virtual reality shit. I'm not buying into none of this shit. I already see how some of this stuff is gonna blow up in humanity's face at one way or another. And this the women are actually talking about how they feel like they've been sexually assaulted, like they actually felt like it felt like someone penetrated them, even though when they open their eyes and there's no one around, but they feel like somebody was penetrating them, Now, and then it's sad because when you try to talk about this technology, of course you're going to have a bunch of people that's not really going to believe it at first because they don't know about the technology. They don't know. So they're going to be like, nah, that's too far-fetched. You telling me you actually felt like someone touched you, someone did something to you, and it's like, yes, it is definitely possible. If you're one way to really find out about this shit is you have to actually be somebody who you go to the real tech, society websites, where they talk about all the emerging technology and things of that sort, and what companies are further developing virtual reality, and what companies are like basically taking the human experience to a whole different level that it shouldn't be at. And this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with some sick bastards. Now the worst part is a lot of the technology that is created and is being used against us, they were all basically used to heal people who actually have problems. Whether it was curing someone of depression, or it was healing somebody who was blind, giving someone the sight to see, or helping someone who was deaf. And I'm talking way past just implants. I'm talking like they actually can use light that will basically enter into the person's brain and actually heal the cells and the nerves that are responsible for the brain to be able to process sound. So it's like someone who was probably in that lab, or somebody who probably did the research to find this, or the secret group of people got their hands on this technology and was like, we're going to use this to actually control society, and we will be the ones who are on top. But here's the thing: every time, and this is throughout the history of humanity, and it happens over and over again, every time a civilization or a group of people try to use something to make themselves into God then reminds them that you are very, very fragile and you are very, very small. God will then destroy. God has destroyed complete civilizations. Think about how like advanced certain past, certain past civilizations were. You think about the Egyptians and all of them. Look at where all their shit is at now. It's either buried somewhere in the sand. It's probably like, you think about Atlantis. That shit's underwater. All of these fucking civilizations were destroyed. But anyway, yeah. This is crazy. But this is gonna be I'm gonna pause on this one. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to end the video on this final couple of notes. But regardless of what they're doing to our bodies, what they're doing to our minds, what they're trying to do to our spirit, you need to make sure you are connected to something that, well, I call the Creator God. People want to call him whatever they want. Some people want to say they don't believe in a God, they believe in nature. Whatever. As long as, quite honestly, it's like whatever. As long as there's always a positive teaching or positive message, or as long as it's rooted in something, and I'm getting chills when I say this, as long as it's rooted in something that is based on love, honesty, peace, genuineness, as long as it's like, as long as it doesn't promote hatred, violence, it doesn't tell you anything about you should be retaliatory, show a lot of anger towards people or anything. As long as it doesn't do that, cool. I like to say that I try to study all types of religions to some degree, because at the end of the day, most religions are genuinely based on the region of the world that you grew up in, honestly. So you need to tap into something that is not just based on what mankind created. You can't just live your life based on, technology. You can't just live your life based on psychology. You need something, in order to truly, really get through this, you need to connect yourself. You need to connect yourself to the source that gives us life. You need to connect yourself to the power that literally, wakes you up in the morning. Like your entire body is made from energy. Your entire body is all pure energy. Everything about your body is basically based on energy. Every cell in your body is based on energy. Now, I don't know how some people don't believe that there is not a creator in this world. I don't know how people do that, but hey, whatever. You gotta find something to try to base your healing. You gotta find something to get your healing from. Like, I tell people, look, I've studied the technology enough. Well, I've come across some knowledge of, things like sound that can heal, light that can heal. Like, people have basically always known to some degree that, if you stand in the sunlight when you're feeling sick or whatever, and you focus on the energy that you're receiving from the sun, and you're standing on the ground and you start to feel that tingling feeling in your feet. I'm talking about if you're barefoot and you're standing on dirt or fresh grass, you're connected to the earth, and next thing you know, you start to feel better. You gotta find multiple things that can help you heal through this process. And I'm not just talking about physically heal, because your body's gonna be attacked constantly regardless. Why? Because the enemy is trying to depopulate the world from, basically the enemy is trying to get rid of everyone who has a moral compass. That's what their true intentions of depopulation is. All of the people who are like, I'm gonna say it just like this. Most of the people who are genuinely godly, loving, kind people, they don't give a fuck about how much money people have. They don't care about how much money they have, as long as they have the things that they need, like food, water, shelter, as long as they have the things that they need, they are all right, But you got people like in our society, like this society, they're telling naturalist people that, like, because you can't keep up with our society, you don't deserve to live in our society. And this is basically what's happening. Someone who is a naturalist is being told by our people in our society, you can't live in our society because you're not like us. You won't join the rat race, so you can't deserve to live in our society. So it's like, I've come to realize that, this world is a trip. This world is a trip. And you know what? I like the fact that every so often man gets the idea to say, oh, we're going to make ourselves into like more powerful beings by taking these devices and altering the very genetics and the very path that God basically put us on when we were made in this world. Because I love it when God just like, oh, you think you smart. You think you powerful. The next thing you know, God just does something to humanity and it shakes the very foundation of everyone's core. Then all of a sudden we have to start all over again. Because remember, nothing in this world is new. Everything is a cycle. Nothing in this world is new. So, on that note, hey, do what you gotta do. Detox, get into spiritual healing, whether you need to read scriptures or whatever you gotta do that, as long as it's not harming someone else or taking anything from someone else, do those things. Because quite honestly, you have to be the example of the good in humanity. You have to be the example. Because they're already being the example of everything that's wrong with humanity. So somebody has to actually be the example of what's good in humanity. So on that note, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.